Good morning. Welcome back. It's Friday Coffee Talks. I'm your host, Connor Volpe. We're here for episode 125. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas with your families or the holiday that you celebrate. Hope you got to enjoy some time off from work. I had a wonderful time. Just the best family time. Time with Mandy's family, time with my family, time with my cousins, time with the kids. Just everything. It was great. It was all wonderful. We ate so much food. I think I'm probably going to be in a food coma forever. Got wonderful gifts. The kids were very excited about their gifts from Santa and from us. It was awesome. I hope you guys had a great time. I drank some great coffee. Can't wait to tell you about some of the good coffee that I got. That will be coming up. I got some stuff that's really wonderful. I did want to tell you before we jump into today's episode, I will have an episode next week as well. This is my last episode of 2023, so I will have a special episode to kick off 2024 next week, so don't miss that. But today, I've got something that I've been working on for a very long time. We've been trying to coordinate schedules for a long time, but we finally did it. I've been really looking forward to interviewing and talking with this person. And we finally got it done. So I can't wait to share with you my interview with Stephen Hartsock. Please enjoy. All right, welcome back. It's Friday Coffee Talks. I'm Connor Volpe, and I am in not my office, but my good buddy Stephen's office. I'm here with a father, a husband, you won't say it, but a chef and a pit master, the inventor of strip mall barbecue.
That's right.
Probably the person in my life that is most likely to pop the top at any given moment.
Mm-hmm. What does that mean? Get mad?
No, take your shirt off.
Oh, I'll definitely do that.
Yeah, Stephen Hartsock. Thanks for being on the pod.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and we are not drinking coffee today. We have an assortment of bourbons. Cheers.
Cheers.
That was a clink. Some Foley. Delicious. I'm sweating from setting up all the camera gear. But we are here. Stephen was gracious enough to let me come into his home, into his office. So these are his things. Anything here you want to comment on in particular?
There's some money.
Can't hide money, literally.
My daughter, you can't hide money. She's supposed to come pick that up at some point. No, this is just me, man. This is where at the end of the day, it's just kind of where I unload. Have an assortment of shoes down there, and you can't really see it on the camera, but I collect cookbooks.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just probably about 50% of what I have. I inherited my grandmother's over there where the partially built White House Lego set is on the left. Yeah, I inherited those. So honestly, I don't even know what's in those boxes. I know it's a bunch of cookbooks, but I like to read cookbooks like I read books.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll take one up to bed and just read through it for a month.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fascinating. That's really funny you say that, because I was flying to Tulsa a few weeks ago, and the lady across the aisle on the plane from me was reading a cookbook, and I thought it was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen.
Well, I know I don't have that many really old cookbooks. A lot of the older cookbooks just get right to the point. You know, ingredients, directions, that's it. A lot of the newer cookbooks read like books. Mm. There's stories behind the recipes and things like that.
Yeah.
Actually, hopefully he'll watch this. Jeff Henderson owes me a book. Actually, we owe each other a book. Mm. He got me a book once that had a story. I think it was him. Had a story behind each recipe, and we talked about writing a book. So maybe one day.
Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the folks that may be watching that don't know who you are, give me the overview of Stephen Hartsock and how you got here, what you do, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm a Georgia native. I grew up in Columbus, Georgia, for about half my childhood, and then we moved to what we call Harris County. A lot of people refer to their towns as cities, but for whatever reason, Harris County is Harris County. So it's just the county north of Columbus where I'm from, and we lived on 30 acres and very much a entertain yourself kind of person. We grew up with 22 rifles and we would hunt squirrel and
Yeah.
just fun stuff like that. But as far as my profession, I think I really started to dabble in cooking. I don't know why my parents, this was a rule, but we could use the grill, the gas grill on the wood deck, but we could not use the oven
Okay.
or the cooktop in the house. And this was usually during summers when we were, at home, latchkey kids. So I would grill stuff outside.
Yeah.
And I remember those little frozen hockey puck burgers. My mom would buy like a ton of them. And I would dabble with like undercooking them, and it's probably terrible because it wasn't the most quality meat. And there was McCormick's made this Montreal seasoning.
Yeah. I
It
know
was
that
like
stuff.
the first time I was really introduced to seasoning. So anyway, I grew up, on a bunch of land and made my way to Atlanta in the airline industry, and then got into construction and did that as a 15-year career, and refound my passion for cooking around 2009, 2010, and just kind of dove headfirst into that. I want to, it's still up there. It's a recipe contest from Marlowe's Tavern, which is like a local restaurant. And they do this grill challenge every year. You submit a recipe and they pick a winner, and that I won the very first one they ever did, and I won a Big Green Egg.
That's cool.
And that just unlocked pretty much everything for me. And left my construction career in 2015 to pursue a catering career that I'd already sort of built or started to build, and have a seasoning company, and that's kind of turned into what it is today.
Yeah, super cool. It's been awesome to watch, as we've been friends now for at least that long.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been cool to watch.
Yeah,
the sidelines.
you knew it when it didn't exist. You knew it when it started to exist.
Well, it's also funny too that, we've from the outside we've known it for a long time how good your food is and how successful your eventual restaurant would be. We all assumed, but you kind of got drug into it. Like you didn't really want to do a restaurant.
No, I mean, I liked the idea. It was just kind of neat. Like, if it were up to me, if I went straight into it, I would have had a pickup truck with a tow behind smoker, and I set up at a gas station and I sell sandwiches for lunch. That was kind of like my dream. And fortunately that didn't happen for me. And I took a weird approach, which looking back on it is, I think, how I was able to make it successful quickly. I started catering before I started the restaurant. And a lot of people will tell you if they could just cater and not have the restaurant, they would do that because the margins are better. You know exactly what you're going to do. So you have very little waste. So when I started the restaurant, I had a book of business with catering so that could help the restaurant go.
Sure.
And then I had a client base from that would help grow the restaurant as well. So, but thankfully I had the restaurant because when the pandemic began, what was that, 2020? When it really, March of 2020, we lost 100% of our catering overnight. And a lot of it was reoccurring.
That's wild. I can't think of a more terrifying thing to just happen instantly.
Yeah, it was crazy. 60% of our sales at that time came from catering. About 35 came from the restaurant, and then the 5% came from seasonings and sauces and miscellaneous things like that. Stripping and dry cleaning and whatever hustle I could come up with.
Which, side note, Steven's daughter Caroline has been babysitting our kids this week while they're out of school.
Speaking of strippers. Golly.
Gosh.
No,
cut that. No, but my kids thought it was so funny that there's your seasonings in our drawer, and it's like that's Caroline's dad.
Oh,
It's
wow.
like they made the connection. They thought it was so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That doesn't get old, honestly. I mean, we grew the seasoning company pretty big, and it just we were in a lot of the Sprouts, or all the Sprouts farmers market in the southeast, and it was fun. It never got old going in there and seeing your stuff on the shelf.
yeah, right.
I mean, it
Oh,
just
man. It's so cool.
yeah.
So I think that leads us well into my first question. I've written all these down because we've been planning this for a while, and I've been thinking about these questions for quite some time.
Great question. I haven't seen them yet, by the way.
Okay. So one of the things that I love most about you is everything that you do is intentional.
Mm-hmm.
From like the art in your restaurant
Mm-hmm.
to the tattoos that you've got to like the way that you treat people when they walk in the door. Everything's got a purpose. Why do you think that's so important for you?
To me, it's easier to live in the truth.
Mm.
It's easier to live as a real person. It's harder to me to create a facade, or create this image of you that's not real,
Right.
because it's tiring to uphold that. And I've found over the years it's just easier just to be yourself, be your true self. So I've always have had a servant's heart, I guess, for lack of better terms. Sort of the ambulance chaser kind of guy, like, not in the way that most people think of an ambulance chaser, but like, if I see a problem, if I see a car accident, I want to pull over and help.
Right.
If I see a need, I want to fill it. I will say this: I'm a horrible gift giver, though. Like with my family, every year it's like, oh my gosh, we're 3 or 4 days away from Christmas, and I'm so bad at it. But those impulse opportunities to help always seem to hit me first.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to act on them. I've been burned before, and that's not really why I do it, or doesn't hinder me from doing it. But most of the time, when I've decided to jump in and help in any situation, it's always paid off for the other person, or whatever. I don't know. It's just like a mission trip. Like, I went on my first mission trip, and it's just changed my life. I mean, I went to Croatia and Bosnia, and we worked on this church, and just to see how happy these people were, it was like, it just filled you up so much.
Yeah. That's cool. I think it is cool though, like talking about the decor in your restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
You've got, if you've never been there, go there first of all. But second of all, the big prints you've got that you had made, they're sign language that say barbecue.
Yeah.
And it's your hands because it's got your tattoos on them.
Yeah.
Like it's just so cool. Like the details of everything that you.
Yeah, and that was just another impulse thing. I had this giant wall that I really didn't know what to do with it. I didn't really have the funds to hire somebody, Mike, to come paint a giant Mike Jones shop.
Yeah.
I didn't have the resources to hire somebody to paint something really cool on there, and I was thinking, wonder if we could do like a Instagram type photo moment thing, and it hasn't really turned into that, which is fine. But this lady, gosh, I'm drawing a blank on her name. She's an artist, and local artist, and she had these, gosh, I'm gonna remember her name in a minute. Anyway, she did these little plaques, and it was one of them was ATL, and it was just sign language, the A, the T, and the L, and I thought that was so cool, and I'm like, I wonder if we could blow that out to like 6 foot by 6 foot.
Yeah.
So I reached out to her, and she's like, I think that would be fun. So I went and bought these painter's tarps.
Those are tarps?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, they're painter's tarps. And Kelsey, who used to work for me and is a good friend of mine, she steamed them, and then she took them down there to her, and I think her name's Kristen. Anyway, doesn't really matter at this point. But I just want to make sure she gets the love. Kristen Ramsey, something like that. So anyway, she hand painted these BBQ things, and just to kind of make it personalize it, she put my tattoos on it.
That's really cool.
And it's become a big talking piece in the restaurant all the time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can't miss them. They're
Yeah,
gigantic.
Yeah. And I built a little frame that goes around them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on a budget when I was building that place out, man. I did 90% of it I did on my own.
Yeah.
Luckily, you and I are both handy in that way.
Yeah. And you know the original letters from the catering kitchen are up in ink now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the ones that you gave to Mandy.
Yes.
The INK from the catering kitchen is in the hall, the entrance hallway to ink. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't supposed to have a restaurant, so the space that we were in catering was called the catering kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And about 6 months in, I got bored and was like, we need to open for lunch. and I did, and catering kitchen's a horrible idea for a restaurant name. So I tried to get by, because I had already purchased this $5,000 or $6,000 sign, and I'm like, I gotta keep it. So I bought this neon BBQ, and it was going to be BBQ at the catering kitchen. We were going to have like this Krispy Kreme vibe when the hot light's on, when the BBQ sign's on, you can come in and get food.
That's awesome.
That didn't last long, so we ended up going back to the original trademark name, which is Sock's Love.
Yeah.
And they just added the word barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool though. I didn't know that. I love that place.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's up there. Every time I think about it when I walk by, because you have to. It's right there at the entrance.
That's so cool. Is it lit up?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, man. I gotta come out and see it.
Yeah, it's cool. Okay, so going back to popping the top. You have no fear of embarrassment, which for me is a concept that it just doesn't even register to me. Like, my whole life is just avoiding being embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I've literally seen you do things that I would just melt into a ball and die. How do you operate with such a freedom to not care what other people think about you?
Here's what's funny. I care a lot about what people think about me.
Yeah.
I don't like to have enemies. If I get in an argument with someone, I want it resolved immediately. And growing up, I'm 5'6". I still have a gigantic head because I have the same head. I just kind of grew into it a little bit. And when I say a big head, I wear an 8 fitted hat. Don't me. You're gonna embarrass me.
I think I'm 7 3/8.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So, but the fact that I was short, I never thought about that. I got picked on because I had a big head. I never thought about being short. So early on, I don't think you can just be witty. I don't think you can just be funny or learn that. I think it's kind of who you are. My dad was very funny.
Mm-hmm.
So my brother, Chris, is very funny. And Jake's inherited some of that from us, so he's a little bit funny. But I would get ahead of being embarrassed about something by being funny, by being the class clown. I embarrassed very easy. Very easy. If the teacher called me out to read in class, my face turned bright red and I would be so embarrassed. I'm introverted, which a lot of people don't know that about me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like new crowds. I have a hard time meeting new people. But how I would get ahead of all of that stuff is I would say something silly or do something silly, take my shirt off, and it just, for me, it takes all the pressure off.
Yeah.
That. But what's funny is people that meet me for the first time, who have only ever seen me on social media or have heard about me or saw me once or twice out and about, they expect that. But if you ask Kim, I'm probably 80% very serious and not funny.
Yeah.
And just kind of grumpy. Like, she thinks I'm gonna be a grumpy old man.
Kind of
but
grumpy.
yeah, I still to this day I deal with the social anxiety through humor.
That's wild that you took something that was like not a negative, but like you felt like was something holding you back and turned it into a superpower.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I've never, when you proposed that question to me, it's never been asked to me, I don't think.
Really?
And, no. And it's so funny to me because I do know the other side of me, and I know that's a bigger part of me is just serious and kind of cranky and grumpy, and but I like to have a good time. I like to be funny, and
Sure.
I just never thought about it like that. But it truly is a mechanism to cover up severe social anxiety and bashfulness.
That's wild, man.
Yeah,
I never would have expected that.
it's a fact.
Yeah.
But the laugh, I love a good laugh. I love to make people laugh. I love that belly.
Yeah.
And it probably frustrates more people than it makes them laugh, but like a good Jeff Beach laugh. Like,
Oh man, I don't know if you can beat that. So speaking of somebody that we both love, Jeff being one of them.
yeah.
Anthony Bourdain.
Uh huh.
I'm gonna talk about his importance to you.
You see that up there?
Oh, there he is. Yeah. And one of his quotes is on the wall at the restaurant too.
Uh-huh.
I've done a whole episode on Anthony Bourdain because I love him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was a fascinating character. I think he changed the landscape of TV and entertainment and cooking, like
Mm-hmm.
just everything about him. It's more than though his entertainment. I think he made a big impact on how other people interact. I love him. Why is he so important to you?
I think there's a lot of him that represents who I am. I have personal struggles that he probably dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that he was a very I don't want to say social because maybe he was social. I do think he was a lot like me in that he was an introvert. I think his humor was very different from mine. It's very dry, but I think he cracked jokes to soften that side of him,
Mm-hmm.
to open himself up. Obviously, we were in the same industry, and he has a massive love for that industry as well as I do. But he just, I believe that, I don't believe, I know, I mean, he said that, he probably can relate to the guy that's washing dishes in the back more than he could the maitre d'.
Yeah.
Or definitely the highfalutin crowd that was eating at the restaurants that he cooked at. He would much rather hang out with the guy washing dishes or the line cooks. And that's me. I grew up in the construction industry, and we're just a different breed of folk. And I don't know, he's just a special guy. There was a huge void. It's kind of, in a way, I want to compare it to massive tragedies, but for us, 9/11 is something you'll always remember. You should
Mm-hmm.
remember. I remember exactly where I was when it happened, and when I found out that Bourdain died, I remember exactly where I was.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those core memories for me, and I don't read a lot. I mentioned that I read cookbooks.
Mhm.
That's a very easy read. It's something I'm into, but I don't read books often. I've read Kitchen Confidential, and it really. Funny thing is, I read it while I was trying to open a restaurant, and it's like the opposite. Like if you don't want to get into the food industry, food service industry, yeah, read that book. That'll keep you away.
Scare you away.
Yeah, I don't know. He was just a unique character. I think he did things his way, and man, if you could do things your way, that's like the ultimate prize.
Yeah, yeah. And well, I think he kind of like created that whole segment of TV too, like
Mhm.
the travel, eating, cooking.
He definitely he he definitely put a more genuine spin on it. Like he
That's a
didn't
good way to
just
put it.
talk about where tourists should go to eat. Like he let you took a deep dive into the culture.
Mhm.
It was a bit political. Some of the episodes you may not agree with politically, but he dove into why politics or you know the folks that why that shaped the way the food is wherever he went.
Yeah.
Like tough times and I don't know. It's just such an interesting guy, and it took me quite a while to be able to go back and watch reruns of his episodes and stuff.
Yeah. You've seen the documentary
Mhm.
about him, right? That's so well done. It
Yeah.
was phenomenal.
It's great.
So good. And the video of him and I think it's Sean Brock at
Uh-huh.
Waffle House.
That's my
They took him to Waffle House for the
that's
first time.
probably my favorite episode. And what's interesting is Sean, I call him Sean because I don't know him at all, but I do look up to him. He's like, to me, name your idols. Chefs like that are kind of my idols.
Mhm.
I guess if I would freak out
Yeah.
if Sean Brock walked in the room more than you two or pick somebody like Justin Bieber. I don't know. Yeah, that's a fantastic episode, and Sean has actually cleaned himself up, and there's been I think there was a chef's table that's kind of showed him a sober light, which is kind of neat. But yeah, epic episodes,
Yeah.
especially the Waffle House scene
So
where
good.
Bourdain's just blown away by.
I think I've watched it so many times. It's so good. The two of them just like blasted,
Oh,
just
yeah.
crushing Waffle
Yeah,
House.
yeah.
So speaking of food, we didn't talk about this either, but I want to get your take on barbecue
Mhm.
because you have an interesting one,
Mhm.
especially as a South Georgia guy. You don't and won't put Brunswick stew on your menu.
Yeah,
You-
he's stubbornness at this point. Sorry if I blew you guys out. Lean it in.
But I think your menu is like you've got some of the classics, but you've also put your spin on it. Like
Yes.
what's your take on barbecue?
So the sorry for Hazel, we have a crazy birdie doodle who's not happy.
I don't even know if he'll pick it up.
Yeah, cool. My take on barbecue. I'll tell you how my menu started first, and that's I basically took the greatest hits off our catering menu. I tried to be intentional about creating a small menu that was easy to execute,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing irks me more than a Cheesecake Factory type menu. It's just
Yeah,
too many
it's
options.
tough.
I'm sure a lot of people like that, but I want a few things and that's it. So that was the idea behind that, and something that we could execute well every single day. And we don't get it right every day, but we try. That's kind of where that started. But that was the greatest hits off our catering menu.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And there were classics like potato salad and Brunswick stew. I mean, that's an absolute staple in Georgia. And I'm from Georgia, and I've had plenty of Brunswick stew, and I didn't care for it as a kid. Like
Yeah.
it was like tomato soup to me. But I appreciate it. I like it. I'll eat it. Especially now when I go home and there's some barbecue joints back home that are very nostalgic to me.
Yeah.
I will certainly order the Brunswick stew because it's nostalgic to me, but it just wasn't something that I liked, and
Yeah.
chose not to put it on my menu, and it's pissed a lot of people off. But we're 6 years in, and
Yeah.
it's okay.
Every time you do one of those, like, what are you guys wanting on the menu? I'm sure it's like half Brunswick stew.
Yeah, for sure. I had a guy, gosh, he got so mad. He embarrassed his family. His wife and daughter were with him. This was very early on. And I would take every bit of information as criticism. And I thought, oh, my business is done. This guy hates me and he's yelling at me. And they walk down and his wife is like tugging on him. And I'm like, dude, it's just Brunswick stew. Like, I'm not going to do it.
He was that mad you didn't have
He
it?
was so mad.
What?
He was so mad.
Oh my gosh.
Like, just, you're not from Georgia, you're fake, you're all this stuff. And I'm like,
Weird.
maybe I've made the wrong decision, but I don't know. I stuck to my guns, and we just don't offer it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It doesn't bother me one bit.
Yeah.
Maybe one day. Never say never.
Yeah, I doubt it at this point.
I'll call it leftover stew. Yeah. And that's not a knock on anybody that does it and does it well.
Yeah.
Shout out. My guys, Southern Soul, they've got some of the best Brunswick stew you'll ever.
I haven't been there. I'm gonna have to go.
It's good. And a fantastic group of folks that run that place.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to shift a little bit. We kind of touched on this at the beginning, but talking about being selfless and doing the little things that are minor inconveniences for you, but have big impacts. I'm going to fill up too. Have big impacts on the people around you. You said that's one of your main driver things, but why do you think it's the drive? Where do you think that drive to serve other people comes from?
That's interesting. My mom is very good at that.
Mm-hmm.
My stepdad Don, he's a great gift giver. Obviously, he loves to be loved and told he's doing a great job, like me. But I've always noticed that he genuinely loves to gift people with things. It's kind of his. But my mom is very thoughtful as well, and I think I had a great example from them. Selfishly, I think there is in me there's some satisfaction from that. When you tip somebody really big, like I don't necessarily want them to, like Kim is my wife. She decides at a restaurant she wants to tip somebody big, she puts it in there and she's out. Like, she doesn't want anything to do, she doesn't want any of the glory, she doesn't want any of the... In my case, I want to see their reaction. Like, I don't need them to tell me how thankful and grateful and all this stuff. I don't need to be told that I've done a great job. I want to see their reaction. That, to me, is what is cool. And I guess that answers your question.
No, it does. I think the biggest thing that I can think of with this about you, and kind of the reason why I wanted to ask you, is the pandemic situation with Lake Burrito.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to tell that story?
Sure. I've told it a lot, but it's such an awesome story, and not because of me. It's because it kind of speared a whole community. It kind of jumped off a whole community to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And my whole motivation behind that was I was in a tough spot, but I was doing pretty well, and I knew of a place that I liked personally, selfishly, was not doing well. And it wasn't because of anything that they had done wrong. It was just because for health reasons, and they had to close, and when they opened, like, everybody was gone. So, but as the story goes, there's a there's a taco joint, counter service style taco joint. I won't name any of the big box stores, but you walk up, you get a taco, or you get a quesadilla, or you get nachos, or you get whatever. And then you just kind of walk through the line. They had the freshest ingredients. The staff is all family. It's Paris and his twin sisters, and their dad worked there at the time. And he wore these funny hats, and whenever I would cater something like North Forsyth County, I would always make a point to go by there. I loved it. I didn't know them. I didn't know any of them at all. I didn't know the business structure. I didn't know who owned what or whatever.
That's cool.
But I just enjoyed, going there to eat, and we became social media buddies. Like they would they would go to Restaurant Depot and be driving by and take a picture and post it. But the funny thing is, we didn't even know each other. So when I found out from one of my customers that they were struggling, through Facebook, I was like, oh man, I could do something. Like our sales are okay. I mean, we're getting by. We're all getting paid. And this is like, we're pretty deep into the pandemic. And so I called Kim first, and I'm like, I have this idea. And this goes back to the impulse of wanting to help people.
Right.
I was doing it anyway, whether she said no or not. But I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about giving all of our profit to this Lake Burrito up the street on Friday. Like, take our sales, whatever extra we make, it's going to go to them. She's like, I don't know, babe. That's, we're struggling. Like, you're in tears most mornings wondering if we're going to make it. And I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like it's the right thing to do. Like, this week we're doing fine. And she said, well, follow your heart, And that's what I did. And I reached out to the folks at Lake Burrito. Again, a very, very much an impulse situation where they didn't have time to reply. And I was going to do it anyway. I wanted to get their permission, but I'm like, I'm going for it. So I posted on Facebook that night before I left, their name and a bit about their struggles, and that, hey, come tomorrow on Friday, we're going to donate all of our profit to Lake Burrito. And that was it. I just kind of left it at that, and I got home and there was like 10,000 views on I guess it was Facebook.
Yeah.
It ended up on YouTube at some point, but like Facebook, and I'm not very active on Facebook, and to me 10,000 views was like, whoa, and it was like climbing. It was very strange. So we were committed, and I'd already cooked what we were going to cook, and so the next day I come in, and there's a couple people at the door before we open, and I open the door, and they come in, and I don't know where, I didn't notice the cars because everybody was just sitting in their cars, and I didn't notice the people, I didn't notice the cars. So within about 5 minutes, we had a line like 20 deep out the door, like from the register to the door. So needless to say, that was an insanely busy morning, because it didn't last long. It was an hour and a half. We had completely sold out.
Oh my gosh.
So at the time we closed at 2:30, we sold out by like 12:30. I think around 1 o'clock I was able to figure out what sales were, wrote a check, hauled butt up to Lake Burrito. Still haven't talked to them. So, and they've got their front door is closed. They have like a cabinet in front of it to where you can walk up to the door and order.
Mm-hmm.
And Paris, which I thought was a lady, is not a lady, it was a guy, and his two sisters came to the door, and they were kind of half mad at me, but half like humbled and just couldn't believe what was about to happen. They were pissed because it turns out that, so they take online ordering. They came in that morning and their tickets were to the floor, and they didn't understand why. They thought there was a problem. They sold out of everything. By the time I got there, it was around 1:30. They were still only taking pickups, and they were open for lunch and dinner, and they sold out of everything by 1:30.
Wow.
So I gave them a check, and we introduced ourselves, and I went on about my business, and it went as viral as I guess viral can get for a guy like me. Like, the news was was at my place the next day, and Telemundo and or Univision, one of those international was at our place, and it took this wild turn. And I think it was a couple weeks later they were able to hire back a couple of their staff. Um, the Kelly Clarkson show slid into my DMs one day. I thought it was a joke. It was not a joke.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. So this was pretty much the beginning of her show, and it was very popular. And they ended up, because of COVID, we've shot the episode at our respective restaurants, but they shot an episode of Lake Burrito and I. Lake Burrito was there, we're here. It was all Zoom, and it was very complicated and weird, but yeah, we shot we taught Kelly how to do a brisket. They taught her how to roll a burrito. It was fun, and then we did a one-day collab where we did a smoked brisket burrito and sold it at Lake Burrito. And I'm still friends with them today. Paris came by like 3 or 4 weeks ago to check on me.
That's cool.
One morning, he was just passing through, and they're doing great. As good as you can, I guess.
Yeah, that's incredible. From, I mean, a situation that nobody could have seen coming.
Yeah.
And just to be snatched right out of it.
Yeah. And again, it was a very impulse thing. There was no thought behind what's in it for me. It just was a situation where I knew we were going to be able to make our payroll. We were going to pay our bills that week. Why couldn't I help somebody? Why not, man?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like, I don't know. I just had this mindset of help. Just help. Why not? Just do it. And
yeah.
It ultimately paid off bigger than I could have ever imagined. I mean, it kind of boosted our who we were. It boosted our name. It introduced us to the AJC, which is the local paper. I mean, just being in the AJC, when you're 40-something miles outside of the city, it's hard to get that press from the city of Atlanta, even though we're Metro Atlanta. But I hate to say this, but I love you, Kelly Clarkson, but when you hit, like, people watch the show, they're not going to come to my restaurant.
Right.
It's kind of a feather in the cap, and it makes you feel good that you're on that show, but when people read the AJC or see you online on the AJC, those are the local people.
Mm-hmm.
However, millions of people live in Atlanta now they know who I am. That makes a difference. So landing in the AJC was huge.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother story that doesn't really matter, but it just changed everything for us.
Well, and I think obviously the monetary donation is a big part of it given the circumstances, but I think more so just the fact that, like, I'm just going to put this video online. I'm going to take half a second and film a video to say, like, call attention to a need and bring the community together, and that's exactly what happened. Yeah,
well, that in turn, it inspired people to help others. So there were a couple churches that came to us and said, hey, we want to feed the whole hospital.
Whoa.
We saw your video. We're grateful for what you did. That inspired us to do more. So they came to us. It was Cross Church in Forsyth County did it first. They came to us and said, we want to feed every single staff member at the hospital. We want to do it in one day. Actually, that's not true. We decided to do it over a 4-day period.
Wow.
And we did, and then Jeff Henderson and I'm pretty sure it was, he's going to kill me. Adam Johnson came together because Adam is Brownsbridge Church.
Uh-huh.
And they're in Forsyth County. Obviously, we needed to have a connection to Forsyth County, and Jeff Henderson's in Gwinnett County. They came together, put a budget together to do it again.
Wow.
So we fed all of Northside and Forsyth again, like 1,000 people.
Whoa.
So those were ways that not only did it help our business in a time of need, but it helped the community, and it gave back to those people that were right in the front line.
That's cool. Really cool.
Yeah.
Inspiring stuff, man, for sure. Okay, so the last question I have is probably perfect because Kim's probably going to walk in at any point during this. But um, so we're both guys that get to live alongside really strong, powerful women, successful, motivated, powerful women. I think the stereotype for men and husbands, and maybe not even the stereotype, but like the patriarchy of being husbands, is that we're the leaders and the protectors and the we make the decisions and we're in charge and all that kind of stuff. And so I think it'd be easy in situations like ours, where we have wives like ours, to feel less than or like get bitter about that situation. But instead, you do the exact opposite and you amplify the attention that Kim gets.
Yeah.
Has that always been as easy as you make it look?
With her, yeah. I mean, truly. So Kim she's a CPA by trade. She's an amazing mother. We have a blended family. And for those of you that might not know what that means, is old school definitions is we have stepkids, stepmoms and dads and things like that. That's the family I grew up in. I mentioned my stepdad before. So I want to talk about her being a mother first, which is, it's incredible because two of our three children she didn't give birth to, but she treats and has raised them as if they're her own. She doesn't see a difference. There's some emotional differences that you just can't help. It's just, when you create a person, they're just part of you. They're your DNA. So it's just a natural God-given difference. But as far as like, who gets what and all the decisions and everything, it didn't matter. I mean, we've had our family. Our youngest was a year and a half when we got married. So, and he's 16 now. So she, first and foremost, is a fantastic mother. She's a fantastic wife. She plans 99% of the things that we do. She keeps our calendar, and it's tough on her. It really is. I mean, even though she's really good at it, and that's what she wants to do, it's tough. It's exhausting. So I gotta give that to her first. But professionally, having a blended family, we split our time with our the other families who we get along with perfectly fine. But it was kind of a 50-50 arrangement. So we would build our careers on the 50% of the time that we didn't have kids, and we could also spend a lot of time together.
Yeah.
We enjoy the same things. We love to eat. We love to explore new things and do new things. And but she is very, as driven as she is as a mother and a person at home. She's 10 times that. Like, she's a natural born leader. So it's just always been inspirational to me. When we met, I led a construction company and had a lot of people that worked with me and for me, and we had that in common. Although she was early on in her CPA career, she was just a leader. She was the youngest partner in her firm to ever be named partner.
Wow. She's
in a very male dominant industry. She's a leader as a female, and it's so inspiring to me. So it's easy to root for her. She's going to be so embarrassed, but she's just received every award that you could possibly receive, and she just does it with ease. It's so fun.
Yeah.
And from a financial standpoint, I was raised in a family where my stepdad worked, and he brought home the bacon, so to speak, and my mom worked as well, as my youngest brother was coming up. But the guy led the house, the guy made the rules, the guy did. But at the end of the day, mom still had to say so, and I don't know. It's easy to root for her. It's doesn't matter to me that she makes more money to me. That doesn't. At the end of the day, it all comes down to the same in the same pot.
Yeah.
So it's like her success is my success. Like I never really understood, and trust me, our relationship is not perfect. Like we argue, we fuss, we fight. We're kind of the same person. So it's when it comes to making choices and decisions, it's tough sometimes for us. But I forget what my point was. I'm gonna get back to it. I don't know. She's just easy to root for.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I was gonna say is I just didn't understood why I never understood why couples would put each other down and make the other one look bad or whatever. I never understood that because it's a reflection of you. Like if you're smashing the other person's, who they are, you're with them, so it kind of makes you look silly.
Tied together.
I don't know. So I don't know. Her success was my success, and I think she felt the same way too. Like she supported me. She's the one that said, "Hey, let's quit this awesome career that you have in construction, this salary that you bring home to make $0, and let's go give Sox Love Barbecue a shot."
Yeah.
She did that. She rooted for me the whole way.
That's awesome.
Again, she's easy to root for, and I believe that she could be. Is it FOTUS?
Oh.
No, POTUS. She'd be POTUS, and I would be the FMOTUS.
FMOTUS.
Yeah, I truly believe she could be the president of the United States. I just have that much faith and belief in her. Like she can accomplish anything that she puts her mind to.
I'd vote for her.
Yeah, I have to vote for her whether I want to or not.
I completely agree with what you said.
Yeah,
it's easy to root for, but one of my favorite things, and when I think about this question as it relates to Mandy, like one of my favorite things to see is people just like totally flexing their muscles that God designed just for them.
Yeah.
And Kim does that in a crazy way. You do that at the restaurant. I mean, you think about all of our mutual friends.
Yeah.
I think about that when I hear Paul and Adam sing. I think about it when I hear Reed speak on a stage.
Mm-hmm.
When I see Jeff Beach do just about anything. You see people just like absolutely leaning into their talents and the things that they were designed to do. And for me, it makes it even more special to see my wife do it.
Yeah.
And it's just so cool, I think.
And it's funny the other day when we were together and I said, "How do you do it?" She didn't like that. But I truly, and it's, looking back on it, it probably wasn't the right thing to say. She wasn't upset with me. It's just, when you see somebody who's just absolutely crushing it and you feel in your heart, like, I could never do that. And your reaction is, well, how do you do that? And a lot of times we're barely doing it. Like, we're barely getting by and we're a hot mess and the house is all screwed up and there's so many other things that are falling apart because we're trying to make this dream happen or this goal happen. But Mandy is amazing. And I look at what she's accomplishing currently with a job, a full-time job, and kids, and it blows me away, and it's humbling to hear people say, or even hint that I've done something like that, or Kim's done something like that, because I don't see it that way. Like, I see Mandy working circles around me, but looking back on it, it's like, how did I go to my desk job, leave for lunch, my 1 hour lunch break, haul tail down to Restaurant Depot, fill up a couple coolers, go back to work, go home, cook, cater Saturday? It was nuts, but you just do it, man.
Make it
if
happen.
you love what you do, you just do it, and it's not difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's all the questions I had written. Is there anything else you wanted to chat about? Anything else that you wanted to be said that didn't get said yet?
I just think back to when you and I met. We were in peak performance.
I was an athletic specimen.
You were, and it just, to me, it's like, and I don't look back on those days and wish I was there. I don't look back on, the accomplishments and think, oh, I wasted it all. I personally lost 30 pounds. And yeah, I could stand to lose that again. But your life changes, and for whatever reason, in that moment when we met and we worked out together almost on a daily basis, at least three times a week, and you were like that benchmark that for me, like you literally, like I don't know that I would have ever accomplished what I did without me chasing like 20 feet behind you every day. Like I could not catch up to you, and I wasn't mad about it. It was just like that. You need that when you're trying to accomplish something. You need it. To me, it's like the little rabbit that runs around the track and the dogs chase it. You have to have that. Some of us have to have that. You don't have that natural born drive in you. We're not all David Goggins over here. Like we have to have somebody that's just slightly better than us to drive us, and you did that for me.
Wow.
You did that for me.
That's very kind of you to say. It was a really special time. That group of guys that worked out at the church, and those are some of those memories that I'll look back on when I'm 85 and just go like, man, what a day.
One of my favorite pictures is me and you. I don't know if Ken was. Oh, Sean Lesko. It was me, you, Sean Lesko, post Peachtree Road Race.
Mm-hmm.
That was my second 10K. My last 10K. I hate running, but it was part of what I did back then to make it happen.
Yeah.
And gosh, I don't know that was the happiest I've ever been in my life. I think I'm very happy now, but I dang sure looked good.
It was pretty close, yeah.
And that was just such a great day, and you and Sean skunked me, and that's fine. I finished it in under an hour, which I'm very proud of.
Isn't that the race that it poured?
It poured the whole time.
Awful.
Yeah, I had these brand new Asics, like these super nice shoes that I had, like went to this place and they like custom fitted me for them, and man, they delayed because remember we were in the parking deck forever.
That's right, yeah, because it rained. I remember that race being behind Sean, and there were so many people, and it was so yucky and gross, but we did the vast majority of the Peachtree Road Race in the gutter.
Mm-hmm.
That was the way that Sean didn't want to like fool around with messing with like dodging people, and so we just ran ankle deep water in the gutter the whole race.
That would be something Sean would do.
It was
like,
awful.
Tough Mudder type situation.
Yeah.
I think I avoided those. I just dodged people. Yeah, that time in my life, and we can have another podcast one day about
GC Fit?
mental health.
Oh, mental health.
Yeah, because I crashed and burned shortly after that. And it's a whole other story. That's when I learned that mental health is a real thing and struggle.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
Those struggles are a real thing. I literally crashed and burned shortly after that, which is crazy because I was in the best shape of my life. We were moving to our dream house, and I had just quit my job to pursue my dream job, and all this, everything great in the world was happening for me. And shortly after that day, it was I went through a bad time, a couple years worth, but praise God, praise Kim. We got through it.
Yes, sir.
We'll do another episode.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, for sure. Well, good, buddy. This has been fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
And opening up your office for me.
Yeah.
It's been great. But this has been Friday Coffee Talks, episode 125 with Stephen Hartsock. Thanks for joining me. Catch you next week.
Go Princeton Wrestling.